Hello guys, welcome to TRISHOOL free training sessions. Today we are going to discuss about the forms. So open. All I'm going to do is HTML. Header part. Oopsie, close header. Body. Close body. Now form tag. So far you might have seen like divs, tables and everything, right? So I can create, of course, div. Inside div I can create form, or I can directly write outside form. So for the time being I'll write outside form. So let's open form and let's close the form. So here there are very important attributes for the form tag. So form is the tag where you want to input, right? Basically, let's say basically you see the contact form and everything. So we can create all those forms using form tag. So we have important attributes which are basically needed if you want to access the form. I mean, use the form. Let's say one of them is method. So what is method? Method attribute is basically it is telling that whether it is a get method or whether it is a post method. There are two methods in the form. One is get and one is post. So what happens? What is get? What is post? Basically, you don't need to write caps and small also fine. So one of the most important attribute is method. So why we use method? Okay, let's see. I'll tell you there are two types of method. One is a get and post. What is get and what is post? So get means the values you send through URL. It will go through URL, which means like in the URL, if you have a so TRISHOOL.com, once you submit the form, all the values of the form, like whatever the values you submitted, values go through the form, through the URL. Let me show you what is through the URL. We'll take any form. So maybe I'll take some which form? I'll take our website form only. Log out, right? Login. So here, when I click on login, let me check what is the form method. This is method post. So which means when I click on login, you don't see any values in the browser. But anyway, I think instead of here doing that, let me take an example and show you exactly. I'll talk about the post later once we understand the get. So method get. And another one is action. Where do it has to go, which means I have to tell to the form once I got the all values, where do I have to submit these values? So to which file I have to submit these values. So what is the action that I have to do next after submitting the form? So submitting form using will submit using submit button. So that should be inside form tag only. So let's say action is equal to, so I am not saying anything. Let's say form values dot php. Why I'm using PHP instead of HTML? Because you are sending values to the backend program where they can do insertion or whatever they want to do inside the program. These days we have a lot of other front-end technologies like Ajax, AngularJS to handle the data, form data, and of course store in again in the database using again third-party, the backend applications like PHP, Java, .NET. So first of all, let's be like form values or PHP like that, and we're not getting into too much into that. So let's start with the name. And what is this name? My form, or maybe I'll say registration form. I'll just make it more sense so that. So what happens here? What happening here is the name. So when I'm trying to, if let's say if I'm writing a JavaScript, or if I'm using a DOM element, a structure, uh, you know, I can use this name to call the form and submit the form using JavaScript. I can use this name for identifying the form. Hey, this is a registration form. This is so and so. So name is always important. Try to give the name to the form, name to the form, because no, who knows like when we will need to use of it. So there is a one more attribute called ink type. I don't remember. I think it is multi-part slash form. I don't remember. Hold on. So if you open W3 schools, I mean, you will get all the attributes for the form. Here you can see method is equal to, there are two things. One is get and post, and action is equal to URL, whatever the URL we want to give. Ink type. There are three types. If you are sending only text, we can say text slash plain, and or we don't need to say anything. And multi-part slash form data. So I'll talk about this later. Actually, not in this session, not in this training. Multi-part slash form data. Let's say I just need this one. I'm not using it right away. Why? I'll tell you when the time comes. Like upcoming. Like you will understand why we use ink type. Anyway, so that's it. That's these are the main three important attributes for the form. Let's say if I want a class to the form, you can give a class. You can, which means you can give a class, you can give an ID, you can do anything, whatever you want to do with the form, same as the other element. So first of all, let's say I'm starting with the input slash name is equal to fname, value is equal to first name, type is equal to text. Here input is a tag which has attributes called name, fname. Value is equal to first name, which means I'll tell you this name we will use it to capture the data, which means like I'll say fname dot value. I can get the value whatever inside I typed, or it is by default value whatever it is. So value is what? This is the one. Either user enters the value, or by default if you want to give something you can give, or else if you don't want to give you don't need to give. So type is equal to text. So for the input itself, we have a different types. Like let's say if I give type is equal to text, I'll get an input box, text box. If I say type is equal to radio button, I'll get a radio button. If I type is equal to radio, if I say I'll get a radio. Type is equal to checkbox, I'll get a checkbox. Similar to that, we have a different number of attributes which will give a different type of a form value. Form element. Okay, let's say all I'm going to say is first name. So just save it. Forms.html. Sorry. I've got beautiful form. It's with the value, first name as a label, and of course the input. So like this, we have a lot of elements, form elements. So let's say I just wanted to list out all the form elements. Of course, here there are listed few form elements. So let's say I'll just click on the input. I have a input. As you can see here, if I come down, so these are all the attributes of the input tag, all tag checked. This means whether it is checked or not. We will talk about all of most of them. I'm just giving you a heads up. That's it. Here, type. This is our guy. Sorry. So what is this type? Type will give us various options. See, when I say button, I'll get a button. When I say checkbox, I'll get a checkbox. When I say color, I'll get a color. Actually, the color is HTML5. So I'm not talking anything about HTML5 in this session because we're going to talk it specially, by playing with the JavaScript, and we'll just play with HTML5. So, and date time. This is also HTML5. Email also HTML5. First of all, let's try checkbox. Right? Let's go. All I'm doing is gender. I'll say gender, and I'll take two inputs, right? Because I'll say as, I'll say no. But here the name I have to give is only one name, duplicate name here for the checkboxes only like this. Because we when we don't know what we select, right? Basically, so if we give two genders as, I'll receive the value of as an array. So we will discuss more about it when we're submitting the form. I think I'll talk about submitting form also. So then you will basically understand how the form functionality exactly works in the back end. So let's just save it, but instead type text. I'll say checkbox. I'll say checkbox. So similar to that, I'll take a radio button. Type is equal to radio. I think I'll take a radio button for the gender, and I'll take this as a interest. Or I'll say hobbies. My bad, I think I'm confusing here you. So here what I'm doing is, gender is basically what only either option you need to select, right? Hobbies. So name hobbies. So we will use radio button to select either of them, only one of them. If you give radio button, you can select only one of them. But if you give checkbox, you can select all of them. Or you can select only one of them. Or you can select only two of them. Something like that. So now what I'm doing here is I'm just trying to give multiple choices, hobbies, like chess. I'll do something like this. Caroms. This is just a label. So this is just a label saying that to identify, like, just basically we are saying something like this. This is for chess, this is for caroms or something. If you want to make sure, like, if you don't want to get confused, you can write title also. It won't do anything. It just says the title so that it's easy to recognize for you if you want. Caroms. title is equal to singing, title is equal to cricket, not crickets. Okay, I'll just open the form and check now. All I can see is simple. Refresh the page. So here everything is coming next to next, right? Because they all are inline level elements. So now what I'm going to do, I'll just take a div and put first name inside div. Next, I'll take a div for hobbies, put inside a div. Again, I'll take a div for gender, put inside a div. So this is basically what exactly. Now refresh the page. Now you'll see one by one on top of each other. First is form, and you can see here I can select multiple number of checkboxes, but I cannot select multiple radio buttons. So here I'm able to get this, only because I have given same name to the two input boxes saying gender. Name won't affect in the output. Name is basically we will use for technical purpose, like where you want to submit forms, you can use the submit form and something like that. So here title won't affect. So here title won't affect, name won't affect, and value is what? Value is what you are entering here. But what if I want by default some value? You can give something like this and check refresh. See? Hold on. This is hobbies, right? You cannot see checkbox value because it's hidden. So now we can try with the text. See, you can see now. You can see by default that's one. And now you can always select it and remove it and write your own, basically name, whatever you want. So we have a given same name for two radio buttons which are stick together. So that's the reason we are able to get this effect. Only you can select only one of them. If I select no, it will go automatically. So you might be having a question for checkbox also. You have given same name, right? But how can you will be able to select multiple checkboxes? That is the functionality of the checkbox, which means checkbox. What does the checkbox means really means? You can select a multiple number of checkboxes. That's the idea of checkbox. So it won't change. But the idea of radio box is the idea of radio button is simple. So you can select only either of them. Sometimes people forget and give different names for the radio buttons. And check here what happens. The idea of radio button is only select one, but now it is selecting two, which is because you have given a different name, which means this will be considered as a totally different section and this will be considered as a totally different section. So we don't want it to be considered as a different section, we want it to be considered as a together. So now it will be easy for the, now it will be easy to recognize they are group, they are together. Similar to the check boxes also. If we give a different name, they will become entirely different groups. So, but now since you have given hobbies same name for these all check boxes, now when it's sending the values, it will send as an array with 4 values, whether it is selected or not. So basically, automatically, once we receive the data, and we will play with it. So anyway, I'll try to submit the form and show you in once we're done with the template, I'll show you submit the form and display it, everything, something like that, so we'll understand. So what else we have here other than the type of the checkbox? So we have a hidden. This is very interesting. Why we use hidden? So it is just nothing like an input box. You are using input. So all I'm saying is I'll do one thing here. Code ID. I'll just say code ID. I just made it as a code ID, and value is nothing required. I'll say hidden. Why we can use, how we can use hidden? Hidden is basically can be used, if you don't want to display it in the screen, but if you still want to send some value. So let's say this might be a generic dynamic ID where it is creating automatically, and I'm just storing it in the value and says with the name code ID type hidden. So which means when I submit the form, the value inside this input will go just same as the normal input, but you don't see it in the screen. If you go and refresh the form, see, you are not seeing anything except the code ID. Code ID is just the text, of course. Here we want it as a hidden, so we don't want to give any label to it. We can call it as a label. So if you see many forms, they might have used a label tag for the text. Yes, you can use. So since this is a basic standard session, I'm just talking about the elements. So first you need to understand the elements. Once you're done with it, you can beautify it however you want. So we have what else we have here? Let's go to our site and check what else you have here. Month, number. See, these are all HTML5. I'm not talking about them. Password. Let's take password. So since we have taken the first name already, I'll just take copy the whole div, right? And I'll say username, right? I'll say uname, blah blah blah. I don't need this, of course. I'll just copy the whole thing. So I don't need to say type is equal to username. Type is equal to text. I just wanted an input box. That's it. I don't want nothing else. Type is equal to a password, right? Now I can see when I say password, that's the beauty of this element. Check here, refresh. Of course, I have to change the label for the password, which is says, use the name here, says password. This value is nothing but a text. We're just trying to make sure that identifying, hey, this is a password text box, this is the username text box, something like that. So it's nothing to do with the form functionality. It's just saying for the generic user purpose. If you see here when I type here, there is a difference. If it is a normal input, you basically see the text, but if it is a password, you don't see the text. So that's the password type will do. As you can see, I am still using only input. So something like that, radio is done. So we have a submit button, right? I'll just put it at the top, at the bottom of the form. Remember, always name is equal to submit btn or something, whatever the value you can give. But type is equal to submit is mandatory. If you click on this, let's say save or register, I'll say see value how it looks to the form. Go to the form, refresh, as I can see here, register. So of course the password is text is displaying because unnecessarily. I just remove it. Let's come here. I'll refresh. As you can see, I can enter all the details and register. So now when I click on the register, form has been submitted to where? Form values.php, right? Which I have given in the action. So which means when I submit the form, hey, go to this file. Along with that, go take the values with you in a get method. Okay. Get method means you can see all the values in the URL. So which means it might not be, it may not be secure. So all the values, whatever they entered by the entered by the user can be seen in the URL. So you might be thinking, hey, I'm the guy who are accessing, who are submitting the form. I'm only the person who are seeing at the top. It doesn't make any sense with respect to security because I know what values I entered, and it doesn't matter for me even if it shows on the URL. After submitting, if it is not showing, that is fine. But what if if your website has a cooking story capabilities? Let's say if it is storing somewhere something. So if it is storing also, if it is also storing all URLs, which means basically they can see everything what you have entered, right? Including the password, everything they can see. So here what we need to do is you can use get or post method. So let's say I'm going to do a post. So mostly people use get method for the forms, but for the secure information, they'll use post. So if it is generic normal form, you can use get. It doesn't matter, but if you want to be more secure, always go for a post and refresh, submit now. As you can see, the form is going to form values.php, but it is not showing any values in the URL, but it is still sending the value, but it is sending as a post method. When it is sending as a post method, you don't see the values, but you are still sending the values. So that's the a little form of security. So try always use post if you have any, if it is an important form or something like that. So it will help to avoid at least a basic, security check. So what else we have here? Right now, I want everyone to create a form and use these types. So let's right now open your systems and try to create a form and use these types. So these are all what? These are all attributes of the single element, which is input. So this is only one of the element in the forms, which means we have a different elements also. What are they? Here, these are the elements: text area, button, select, option. I'll talk about these elements in a moment. But meanwhile, I want you to create a form right now, and I'll just give you a few minutes. So use this type. Hold on. I'm going to share you. I'm sharing this in your Skype. So now what you can do is, why don't you create a form right now for me? Take a huge form, registration form, and use all these types, whatever I have given in the link. You don't need to remember. You can select it from here. Let's say type is equal to email. You can take even HTML5 elements also. Ignore if it is not working because there are some certain issues. We will talk about it a little later. Let's say ignore says 5 here. Use all of them. Ignore where it says 5 and use remaining all of them, and try to create a form right now. Can you do that now? Let's stop the record video. Okay. So now your question is you're not getting.
Text box.
That is because if you can see over there for the input tag, you have not given space for the attribute name.
Here.
Yeah. After input, you have opened this less than symbol. After that input, after there is no space between name and input text, right?
Here I give.
Yes, that is very important because attribute. It should understand, because of that space only, it will understand whether it is an attribute or the tag. That space is very important. Fine, huh?
Yeah, yeah, got it.